There is a $1 plant sitting in the garden section of almost every nursery and home improvement store right now that can eliminate mosquitoes from your outdoor space without a single spray of chemical pesticide. Not reduce them slightly, eliminate them. The American Mosquito Control Association published research decades ago confirming that certain plant compounds naturally repel mosquitoes at a rate comparable to synthetic DEET-based products. Pest control companies charge between $300 and $600 per season for professional mosquito barrier treatments that must be reapplied every 3 to 4 weeks. A handful of strategically placed plants costing less than $10 total creates a natural repellent zone that lasts the entire growing season and returns year after year. The outdoor pest control industry generates over $3 billion annually in the United States alone. A permanent natural solution that any homeowner can plant in an afternoon cannot be allowed to become common knowledge. So they removed it from modern gardening guides, buried it behind branded mosquito coil products and pesticide foggers, and made sure the average homeowner never connects the science of plant volatile compounds with the mosquitoes breeding in their own backyard. They did not erase it because it fails. They erased it because it works without requiring a service contract. This is the story of the botanical mosquito barrier that was once common knowledge in the industry that made sure you forgot it. Welcome to Camping Decoded. If these breakdowns matter to you, subscribe and ring the bell right now, because Camping Decoded is where we recover the practical methods that entire industries spent decades making sure never reached your hands. Let me take you back to where this knowledge used to live. For thousands of years across every inhabited continent, human communities planted specific herbs and flowers around their homes, not for decoration, but for pest control. Ancient Egyptian texts reference the use of aromatic plants near sleeping areas to repel biting insects. Roman agricultural writers documented planting strategies that kept flies and mosquitoes away from livestock and living quarters. During the American colonial period, homesteaders planted marigolds pennyroyal and tansy along pathways and near doorways as a first line of defense against mosquitoes and other biting insects. This was not superstition. This was observable cause and effect repeated across generations. Certain plants release volatile organic compounds through their leaves, stems, and flowers. These compounds evaporate into the surrounding air and interfere with the mosquito ability to locate hosts by scent. Mosquitoes hunt using carbon dioxide detection and body odor recognition. When the air around a potential host is saturated with strong plant volatiles like citronella geraniol or linalool, the mosquito sensory system becomes overwhelmed and confused. The insect cannot lock onto its target, and it moves away from the area. This is not folklore. This is documented entomology. By the early 20th century, this plant-based pest control knowledge was still widely taught in agricultural extension programs and included in popular gardening manuals. The 1938 edition of the Victory Garden Handbook, published by the United States Department of Agriculture, recommended planting citronella grass, lemon balm, and lavender near outdoor seating areas to discourage mosquitoes. But something shifted after World War II. The war had accelerated chemical pesticide development on an industrial scale. DDT was hailed as a miracle compound. Returning soldiers brought stories of how chemical sprays had controlled disease-carrying insects in the Pacific Theater. Chemical companies saw an enormous untapped consumer market in American suburbs. By the 1950s, advertising campaigns convinced homeowners that modern pest control meant aerosol cans, motorized foggers, and professional application services. Plant-based methods were reframed as old-fashioned and unreliable. Gardening books began to shrink their sections on companion planting and pest-deterrent herbs. By the 1970s, those sections had disappeared almost entirely. The new standard was chemical dependency. Here is what the science actually confirms. Research published by the Journal of the American Mosquito Control Association tested the repellent efficacy of several common garden plants. Citronella grass, which contains high concentrations of citronellal, and geraniol demonstrated mosquito repellency comparable to low-concentration DEET formulations when the plant leaves were crushed or bruised to release oils. Lavender containing linalool and camphor showed significant deterrent effects in outdoor field trials. Marigolds, which produce a compound called pyrethrum, have been used as the base ingredient for natural insecticide sprays for over a century. Catnip contains nepetalactone, a compound that researchers at Iowa State University found to be 10 times more effective at repelling mosquitoes than DEET in laboratory conditions. Rosemary, peppermint, and lemon balm all release mosquito-deterrent volatiles when their leaves are disturbed by wind or touch. These are not miracle plants. They are simply botanical species that evolved chemical defenses against herbivorous insects. And it turns out those same chemicals interfere with mosquito sensory biology. Here is where the industry math becomes very uncomfortable. The professional mosquito control industry in the United States is worth over $3 billion per year. The average homeowner pays between $400 and $800 per season for barrier spray treatments that must be reapplied every 3 to 4 weeks throughout the summer. These treatments use synthetic pyrethroids or organophosphate chemicals that kill mosquitoes on contact, but provide no lasting environmental modification. The mosquitoes return as soon as the chemical residue breaks down. The customer is locked into a subscription model that generates recurring revenue for the service provider every single month. A $10 investment in mosquito repellent plants that the homeowner plants once and that return naturally every year for decades breaks that subscription cycle completely. Now, before I show you exactly which plants to use and where to place them, let me tell you what Camping Decoded has been building. This video is one layer of a much larger collection. I've been compiling the outdoor skills, home efficiency methods, and survival techniques that industries across pest control, automotive, and emergency preparedness have worked to keep out of public reach. Natural pest deterrent strategies that service companies never mention. Battery revival methods that parts retailers will not advertise. Water sourcing and purification techniques that function in real wilderness conditions. Fire starting approaches that work in rain and cold when commercial tools fail. Everything is linked in the description. But stay right here because the exact planting strategy is next, and this is the part the pest control industry absolutely does not want circulating. Here's exactly how to create a natural mosquito barrier around your outdoor living space using plants that cost $1 to $3 each. Start with citronella grass. This is the plant from which citronella oil is extracted for candles and sprays. Plant citronella grass in large containers or directly in the ground along the perimeter of your patio deck or seating area. Space plants approximately 3 feet apart. Citronella grass grows in full sun to partial shade and requires minimal maintenance. When the wind moves through the grass or when you brush against it, walking by the leaves, release citronella into the air, creating a repellent zone around your space. Next, add lavender. Plant lavender along walkways, near doorways, and around the edges of outdoor gathering areas. Lavender thrives in full sun and well-drained soil. The purple flowers release linalool continuously during bloom, and the foliage remains aromatic throughout the season. Mosquitoes avoid the scent naturally. Add marigolds around the border of vegetable gardens along fence lines and in containers near entryways. Marigolds are one of the least expensive plants available at any garden center, often sold for under $2 per 6-pack. They grow quickly in full sun, produce bright flowers all summer, and their roots and foliage release pyrethrum compounds that repel mosquitoes, aphids, and other pests. Plant catnip in areas away from your main seating space if you have outdoor cats, but include it somewhere in your yard. Catnip is incredibly easy to grow, spreads readily, and produces nepentolactone in concentrations high enough to create a genuine mosquito exclusion zone within several feet of the plant. Add rosemary near grilling areas or outdoor kitchens. Rosemary grows as a perennial shrub in warmer climates and as an annual in colder zones. When you brush against rosemary or break a sprig to use in cooking, the released oils repel mosquitoes immediately. Finally, plant lemon balm or peppermint in containers, because both spread aggressively if planted directly in garden soil. These mints release strong aromatic oils that mosquitoes find intolerable. The total cost for enough plants to create a functional mosquito barrier around a typical backyard patio is usually under $20. Plant them once in spring, water them during establishment. After that, they require almost no maintenance and return every year in perennial zones, or reseed themselves in annual zones. The result is a naturally mosquito-reduced environment that costs nothing to maintain and improves every season as the plants mature and spread. I want to be fully transparent about what this method does and does not do, because Camping Decoded does not exaggerate claims. Planting mosquito repellent plants will significantly reduce mosquito presence in your immediate outdoor living areas. It will not eliminate every single mosquito from your entire property. If you have standing water sources like bird baths, clogged gutters, or low spots that collect rain, you must eliminate those breeding sites first. No amount of repellent plants will overcome an active mosquito breeding ground 10 feet away. Additionally, plant-based repellency works best when the plants are positioned close to where people gather. A lavender plant 50 feet from your deck will not protect you. A lavender plant 3 feet from your chair will. This is about strategic placement, not random scattering. For the majority of homeowners, however, especially those with small to medium-sized yards or defined outdoor seating areas, this plant-based approach delivers real measurable relief from mosquitoes without chemicals, without recurring costs, and without service contracts. You will notice fewer bites. You will hear less buzzing. You will spend more comfortable evenings outside. These effects are immediate. They compound as plants grow larger and produce more volatile oils. Think about what just happened in the last few minutes. For thousands of years, human communities used plants as frontline pest control. That knowledge was still being taught by the USDA in the 1930s. Then the chemical industry exploded after World War II, and suddenly that botanical knowledge disappeared from gardening books and extension bulletins. $3 billion now flows annually through a pest control industry built on the premise that mosquito control requires chemical sprays and monthly service visits. Meanwhile, the plants that naturally repel mosquitoes cost less than a gallon of gas and grow themselves after you plant them once. The research confirms it. Entomologists have measured it. Every pest control salesperson who quotes you $600 for seasonal treatments without asking if you have considered planting lavender knows it. If Camping Decoded just gave you a tool you did not know existed, subscribe right now and share this with anyone still spraying chemicals in their yard every month. Every share pushes this knowledge past the industries that profit from you not having it. The next Camping Decoded breakdown reveals something even bigger, and I promise you are not ready for what comes next.